All right, everyone, welcome. Today, we're diving into a showdown, a duel, really, between two absolute automotive legends. And believe me, they could not be more different. We're not just talking about cars here. This is really a clash of pure, totally uncompromised engineering philosophies. So, in one corner, you've got the Impatient rocket, a machine that's all about explosive, raw, unfiltered speed. And in the other corner, the implacable tractor, a vehicle designed for one thing: unstoppable, go-anywhere utility. You know, these nicknames, they come straight from our source material, and they just hit the nail on the head, don't they? They perfectly capture what these two are all about. Now, I gotta say right up front, this is not about picking a winner. That's not the point. What we're doing here is celebrating two completely opposing design ideas, each one taken to its absolute logical extreme. Think of it as speed versus stamina, or pure adrenaline versus total assurance. Okay, let's kick things off with our first contender. The second you slide into the driver's seat of the Fiat Uno Turbo, bam, you're instantly zapped back to the 80s and 90s. You've got this thin steering wheel, the driving position is, well, it's a little awkward, let's be honest, but all of it, every little detail just screams one thing: raw, unfiltered performance. Okay, so if you want to really get what this car is about, its soul, you have to understand one critical concept: turbo lag. It's like, you know when a cartoon character winds up before they take off? It's that. It's that little pause, that deep breath the car takes right before it just unleashes all its power. And with this car, that pause, well, it defines the entire experience. So what does that actually feel like from behind the wheel? Well, first, it's deceptively calm. I mean, below about 3,500 RPM, you're just driving a normal, kind of modest little car. But then, then you feel it. You hear this ferocious sound as the turbine starts to spool up, and suddenly, bam, you get this violent shove forward. It's like a little 3-act play every single time you put your foot down. Yeah, the source material just nails it. It describes the feeling as a punch in the back. And that's exactly it. This is not some smooth, graceful buildup of speed. No. It's an event. The whole car just lunges forward, and it demands every single ounce of your attention. And trying to handle this little rocket, that's a whole other story. It's a real challenge. See, it's super lightweight and agile, so it just loves to dart into corners. But the second that turbo kicks in, you are physically fighting the steering wheel to keep the car pointed straight. That's something called torque steer. The power literally tries to rip the wheel from your hands. Add in a stiff suspension and brakes that are basically all or nothing, and yeah, it's a demanding drive. But man, when you get it right, it is so incredibly rewarding. So what's the bottom line here? The Uno Turbo is absolutely not for the faint of heart. This is a machine built for one type of person: the thrill seeker. It gives you this incredibly raw, mechanical connection to the road. It's pure, addictive adrenaline in a little box. Okay, deep breath. Let's shift gears, like completely. We're gonna slow everything way, way down to meet our second contender: the rugged, the purely utilitarian Lada Niva, also known as the implacable tractor. Climbing inside the Niva, it's like stepping into a workshop tool, not a sports car. The cabin is totally Spartan, stripped of anything that isn't absolutely essential. You've got this huge, thin steering wheel for leverage, and you can't miss that big, beefy lever for the transfer case right there in the middle. And when you turn the key, there's no roar. What you get is a slow, heavy, reliable clatter. That's the sound of a machine that's ready to get to work. So, what about on the road, on the asphalt? Let's be real, its acceleration is glacial. I mean, the Niva is in absolutely no hurry to get anywhere. The steering is so vague, you're constantly making these tiny little corrections just to keep it in a straight line. Put it on a highway and it just feels totally, completely out of its element. But then you turn off the pavement. And in that one single moment, everything changes. It's like a switch flips. The Niva's true purpose, its entire reason for existing, is suddenly crystal clear. This is where it becomes a completely different animal. See? This is the magic of it. All of those on-road weaknesses, they instantly become its greatest strengths. You pull that big lever, engage the low-range gears, and suddenly that slow engine is producing unstoppable pulling power. That's torque. The permanent four-wheel drive starts finding grip on stuff where a modern SUV would just spin its wheels. And that long, soft suspension that felt so clumsy on the road, now it's just soaking up rocks and ruts like they're not even there. So, the verdict on the Niva: It's pure, uncut utility. You don't measure its performance with a stopwatch. You measure it by the number of places it can go that other vehicles, well, they just can't. It is an absolute legend of pure capability. So there you have it. Two totally different experiences, right? But how do they really stack up when you put them side by side? And I'm not just talking numbers here. I'm talking about what they feel like. Let's start with the Impatient rocket. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in as little as 7.5 seconds. Now, you gotta remember, for its time, that is brutally fast. It's just a pure explosion of forward motion. And the Niva? Over 20 seconds. I mean, it'll get there eventually. Just looking at those two numbers side by side tells you pretty much everything you need to know about where their priorities are on the road. In this table here, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? Take a look at the engine sound. You've got this manic turbo whistle and roar versus a heavy, constant clatter. The steering feel, one is direct and literally fighting you. The other is vague and needs constant correction. Adrenaline, 10 out of 10 for the Uno on the street. But confidence when things get rough, that's a 9 out of 10 for the Niva. I mean, they are polar opposites in literally every single sensory way. So here's the real takeaway, the crucial point of all this. What makes both of these cars legends isn't what they have in common. It's how fiercely, how stubbornly they commit to being different. They each represent a pure, totally uncompromised philosophy of what performance can mean. You can see they're two different paths to becoming icons. The rocket was built for one thing, and one thing only: unapologetic, explosive fun on asphalt. The tractor? It was also built for one thing: unapologetic, unstoppable utility pretty much anywhere else. And the key word there is unapologetic. Neither one ever tried to be a compromise. When you boil it all down, it really comes to this. The Fiat Uno Turbo gives you a punch of pure adrenaline. The Lada Niva gives you absolute confidence. They are two totally different feelings for two totally different missions, and honestly, both were executed to perfection. And that brings us to the final question, one I want you to think about. If you had to pick, if you could only choose one path, one of these experiences, what would it be? Would you go for the lightning-fast thrill of pure adrenaline or the unstoppable capability for adventure? Something to chew on.